Шановне товариство, доброго дня усім, всіх рада вітаю. У нас сьогодні з вами чергова подія. Ми зібралися на лінгвістичний семінар, який традиційно ми проводимо першочергово для здобувачів 3-го рівня вищої освіти в межах реалізації освітньо-наукової програми зі спеціальності 035 філологія. І у нас сьогодні я маю за честь представити шановного гостя, нашого доповідача Русудан МАХАЧАШВІЛІ, яка є доктором філологічних наук, професором, завідувачем кафедри германської філології Київського національного університету імені Бориса Грінченка і першокласний фахівець з цифрової лінгвістики. І ми сьогодні з вами, я принагідно хочу сказати, що Русудан Кирилевна має понад 30, я не помиляюсь, публікацій у міжнародних базах Web of Science and Scopus, що також показово і багато про що свідчить. Тому ми сьогодні з вами маємо всі нагоду ближче познайомитися, що ж таке цифрова лінгвістика, мабуть, з результатами ваших досліджень безпосередньо. І, власне, тема заявленого сьогодні виступу – це Digital Tools and Trends in Natural Language Processing. Русудан Кирилевна, прошу вас до слова. Можливо, ви декілька слів скажете про ваші проекти, безліч яких включають на тренах.
Шановні колеги, шановні аспіранти, шановна пані Лариса, я бачу в кадрі пана Артура Грантовича, вельмиповажного, мої вітання. Найголовніше вітаю, пане Артур Грантович. Найголовніше, що я хочу сказати, що вітаю вас зараз із Єнського університету, тому що так співпало, що звідучора тут працює дуже потужний науковий семінар на базі Єнського університету за підтримки наших колег українських і відділення слов'янських студій Єнського університету працює семінар, якраз який об'єднав фахівців з цифрової лінгвістики. І ми, власне, чого я затрималася, ми щойно закінчили обговорення можливості подання великого європейського проєкту. До речі, пані Ларисо і пан Артур Грантович, з вашого дозволу, я трошки пізніше з вами зв'яжуся з цього ж питання. Дуже би хотілося, щоб підключився КПІ до цього питання. Тому що, власне, те, чим ми тут займаємося останні 2 дні, я сьогодні вже їду назад, тому, на превеликий жаль, в мене трошки менше часу, ніж я планувала. Але саме це і піднімається питання обговорення цифрових лінгвістичних студій в Україні, проблема розробки curriculum з цифрової лінгвістики на базі профільних філологічних, непрофільних, технічних спеціальностей, і які проблеми, які питання, що з цим робити, як навчити програмувальників, айтішників, як навчити філології, як навчити філологів програмуванню. Тобто це все питання нагальні, це все питання, які об'єднали колег, і мене в тому числі. Я рада була цьому запрошенню, рада була цій можливості. І дуже рада вас вітати. Шановні КПІшники, шановний політех. Shall I switch into English? Is English fine for the presentation? My presentation is in English. I will have to, I shall probably do what I've been doing so far here at the workshop, and what I've been doing so far whenever I'm disseminating what my team is doing. I am indeed a consummate digital linguist and a self-professed digital humanist. So what I consider to be my mission right now, the professional mission, is to place Ukraine on the digital humanities map of Europe and the digital humanities map of the world, and to make sure that we are approaching digital humanities from the linguistic point of view, and that we are streamlining pretty much everything that we're doing in linguistics as researchers, that we're streamlining it through the lens of digital tools, digital studies, digital language processing. At a certain point, I would very much love to hear what your projects are, and how we can discuss, if you want to, how digital tools or digital language processing could be applied, what you're doing as a method, as a tool, or as an object of study. Essentially, what I'm going to be doing today, I am going to probably pinpoint the things that my research team and I myself that I've been doing within the vaster framework of European projects in digital lexicography, in digital language processing, and in digital humanities, and in digital education. Because that's something that we've been doing for the last 2 years, and that's the transformative potential of digital communication for education and for linguistic education purposes. And how the war has informed what we've been doing with digital language processing as well. So without much ado, like I've said, I do not have a lot of time. Without much ado, I would very much love for the opportunity to share my screen. I can do that, right? Okay, good. No, that's not what I wanted to share. Those are the print screens. And that is not exactly what I wanted to share. Yeah, that's the spoiler. That's a spoiler alert.
It's in the process of loading.
No, I need to move to the very beginning, and then I'll have to be moving alongside the presentation for certain aspects. Okay, just a moment. My computer is already on its way home. Please work. Please don't freeze. Sorry, I'm talking to my laptop a lot. Please don't freeze. Don't do that. Just a moment. Just give it a moment.
No problem.
Okay. We have PhD students here mostly, right? Attending, or students as well.
Well, students as well. I see bachelor students, master students, and PhD students.
Oh, and PhD students. Okay, excellent. Did anyone attend yesterday's workshops here in Vienna? Did anyone attend?
I guess not among those who are present today.
Okay, give my laptop a minute. Oh my God, are you going to be working today or what? I don't know what's happening to it. Just a second. No, I mean, I can chat about it without the presentation, but the presentation has, yeah, okay. So the primary focus that I really want to draw everyone's attention, everyone present attention today is the fact that my research team and I myself have been involved with the flagship electronic digital linguistics and digital lexicography project in Europe. And that is the project Elexis. It's a Horizon 2020 project. It has actually wrapped by now, and it has entered the next phase, and the next phase would be the Elexis Association and the Elexis Knowledge Center. And hopefully the next phase would be the next submission of the next framework project to the Digital Europe framework. So the point is that this type of project, that is the only Horizon 2020 project that has been focused exclusively on language processing, European language processing. And it has united researchers from across the board in Europe. And that demanded lots of data assemblage, it demanded lots of data processing, and it gave access to lots of digital tools, which is to a comprehensive set of digital tools that can help students, that can help PhD researchers, that can help late career researchers and mid-career researchers streamline their studies, they can make them corroborated, they can actually feed into, they can make the tool the object of the study. And that is something that I myself is very keen on doing, and that's something that we've been doing with our team. My point is to actually, for today, and I'm incessantly doing that, to advertise that set of digital tools for you. So something that you can do. Maybe you know some of them. Maybe you don't know how to use them. Maybe you haven't used them yet. Maybe you don't know how to access them. You can say that probably Professor Rusudan cannot access Catch Engine. Will just write to me. I shall give you the access because I can get the access from the developers of the tool. Please feel free. That is by far the one takeaway that needs to be happening from today's seminar and from today's workshop is that please feel free to contact me or mine at any given moment with anything that you need. Support, contacts, access to digital tools, a consultation, the networking contacts for people that could be helpful to you, the professionals that could be helpful to you, to your studies, to your specific area of interest in digital language processing. That is something that we need to be doing, and that is something that we really need to be preserving, that beating network of connections, specifically in digital linguistic studies, because to my firm belief, there is absolutely nothing to do in language studies nowadays if it's not digitized. Translation studies, same way. If we are not building a neural network for term extractions, if we're not building parallel corpora, if we're not using corpus tools in order to make the translation as accurate as possible, in order to analyze the accuracy and the equivalency and the adequacy, if we are not doing that with the help of digital tools, we're not doing it right. We're not doing the linguistics right anymore. And that is why that is a thesis statement that is pretty much a staple of every talk I give through these years, is that we've entered the event horizon for linguistic studies, and we've entered the event horizon for humanities studies. This is the end of the world as we know it. That has happened twice over in our experience as researchers. It has happened with the rise of the pandemic, when all of a sudden we had to do everything digitally, and we had to tackle everything digitally, and we had to practice what we preach. If we study digital communication, we have to actually practice it all the time like we do right now. If we study language as a communicative tool, we had to factor the necessity for that communication to go digital, because everything had to go online. And we're doing it twice over in the circumstances that are as dire as we probably couldn't have imagined, and that is the situation of the warfare, the active warfare, which is a whole different level of digitization, and it demands a whole different level of digital language studies and digital communication studies. That's actually something that with our team we've developed specifically, and that is the next, the tier structure of the digitization level for communicative studies and for education and communication. Professor Larissa Taranenko was kind enough to be an expert in a seminal dissertation that has been just presented last year, and that's the innovative education and communication. I was a supervisor of it, so that was pre-war, and we studied the work concentrated on what is now what could be called the emergency to sustainable digitization level of education and communication, or any type of communication really. But we've entered a whole different area of digital communication, and that is wartime emergency digitization. That's a whole different event horizon. We've actually traversed the event horizon. Any outcomes of communication right now, they are unpredictable. Any set of skills that we thought that we need in order to approach digital communication, they are pretty much out the window. We need to relearn to communicate digitally to accommodate the situation. Warfare with blackouts, with the asynchronous communication, we need to pay attention, we need to put focus on the accessibility of asynchronous communication strategies and so on. So that is everything that could be and should be a subject of this linguistic study as well, a communicative study as well, as much as it's an applicable or best practice. Okay, so that is something to keep in mind when we are talking about the development of language and communicative studies. When we are approaching the issue of digital linguistics and digital communication studies, we need to probably pay attention. We need to keep in mind this is the kind of a conceptual grid that I would recommend every, I don't know, well, this is a university department. I'm just, renting a nook here. And there is an active workshop going on. So my point is that my recommendation to approach digital linguistic studies would be to consider the tripart structure of what could be the object of digital linguistic studies. And this would be the language annotation via digital tools. This could be the language used in the digital environment or processed through the digital tools. And that would be the language data collected via digital tools, processed via digital tools, or distributed via digital tools. So this is the tripart structure that informs pretty much everything that you can do digitally with the language, and you can study digitally with the language, and you can output as a result of the study of language in the digital environment. And of course, the primary focus that I am centered on as a scholar, and that my research group is centered on as a scholar, would be the transformative potential of language data, language use, and language annotation in the digital environment. One other aspect to consider is the fundamental interoperability of language data, language use, and natural language processing, the interoperability of those concepts with the various aspects of the digital environment as is. And those aspects would be what? Those aspects would be help me out here. What aspects of digital environment do you know, guys? Okay, that's a question for the students. What does it say in the picture?
Social media.
Social media, excellent. As a communication means and as accumulation means. Social media accumulates the wealth of linguistic data. Okay, what else?
Dictionaries and translators.
Thesaura. Okay, dictionaries, translation tools or translation networks. And actually, if we're giving, let's say, Google Translate a hard, long look, we would say that it's no longer an accumulation tool. It's a processing tool. It's a neural network. That means that whatever information, whatever linguistic data is being fed this neural network, teaches it. So yes, it's working as a neural network. It's self-taught. So this is a tool of machine learning nowadays. And language data and language use and language processing are all the components that inform the development of this digital tool. Google Translate is a digital tool. Same goes for, let's say, Python, because Python is a programming language and programming environment that can help you create thesaura, and the syntaxes of that programming environment, it's language-based. That's very specifically language-based. Okay, so that is the general idea. And that is something that I am trying to make sure that everyone who's now dealing with language study, dealing with language research, dealing with language use, all our students, and especially our PhD students, that's something that they understand completely. And that is the fact that we are no longer dealing with the language, keeping in mind that the recipient of whatever it is we're doing to the language, or whatever it is we're thinking about the language, or whatever it is we're thinking the language is, that it's no longer being addressed exclusively at a fellow human. The point is to keep in mind that when we assess linguistic data, when we assemble linguistic data, let's say in a dictionary or in a paper or in a data set, and when we process linguistic data, it has to be accessible and it has to be understandable not only to the human mind, but also to the artificial mind. It has to be accessible to a digital processing tool. And that is actually something that has been one of the most major takeaways from the Alexis project that we sat together and we took a hard look at each other and we said we are no longer creating dictionaries for a student, for a human. We are creating data sets for search engines. We're creating data sets for machine learning, for neural networks. We're creating data sets for the crawler programs. We're no longer writing texts on social media. We're writing texts in a very specific way so that the crawler program or keyword extraction tool can access it and can understand it and can take away whatever we want it to take away. That's something we're no longer, let's tell you what, we're no longer just writing academic papers. We're writing academic papers so that the Elsevier search engine is going to bump those papers up in popularity, and that always is going to happen if the keywords are machine accessible. So that is something that I had to deal with myself. That is something when we are uploading an academic paper, we have to be aware of the text processing tool that is going to assess it, not in terms of plagiarism, just in terms of how it's written. And if it finds it unfeasible or if it finds it inaccessible, that's a human problem. But the machine is not going to resolve it for us. There is no way to work around it. You have to make the text accessible to the machine intelligence. And that is something that has never happened to any linguistic researcher before the late 2010s. This is something to be aware of. It's a fascinating time to be a linguistic researcher. It's a fascinating time to be a linguistic professional. It's a fascinating time to be a computational linguist because there is no other linguist that you can be anymore, essentially. If you're dealing with literary studies, all the same, you are approaching a literary text as a corpus, and you need to mine and extract data from it, as much of data as possible, as accurate data as possible. You have to process it through statistical tools. They're all digitized. They're all digitally based. They're going to give you the best data. They're going to give you the best analysis possible. You have to be able to write customized program code. You have to be able to customize a code to do with the digital data, to do with the linguistic data what you need to do. Maybe you don't need all the massive corpus processing tools. You just need kind of a very specifically, very targeted task, and you need to be able to write a code for it. We're in the age of digital learning. We have to process as professors. If you are teaching, you have to process lots of written papers uploaded to a digital learning management system. But it turns out that our colleagues, let's say from Japan or from China or from Thailand, they're no longer evaluating those papers. The textual evaluation is relegated to a program. It's relegated to a machine, and then the professor is only, kind of scantily glancing at the results. But that also means that if you are submitting the paper, as in you're writing an essay or you're writing an answer, it means that you have to make sure that the machine is going to get from it, it's going to comprehend it in the way that you want it to, because the machine is going to be the next pit stop to you on the way to your successfully completing course. It's no longer your professor. The machine, the specifically trained neural networks are accumulating and they're processing the common mistakes that are being made by students of a certain course. They are processing the common linguistic patterns that are being made by the students of a certain course to determine what works for them, how to customize your lecture in order for what they pick up and what they don't. So probably some certain things you need to stop kind of voicing out, or you need to stop putting in your lectures because they just fall through the cracks. That is something that the machine learning tools, the neural networks, are now doing for the educators, and they are all linguistic data based. It doesn't matter if it's a paper in physics, but it's written in a natural language. I can say that I have tried. I'm not sure that it worked completely, but I have tried to program a chatbot in order to deal with the short essay questions in my course when I was very overwhelmed, and because I trained it to respond to 3 specific terms, and if the response had those terms, then it got a check, it got a pass. Like I said, it wasn't a perfect chatbot, but I'm really proud of it. But that's something that's a way to optimize communication and to expedite communication, and it also gives an idea how successful the communication is. That could be a measure. The specifically trained neural network could be a measure of successful communication, because successful communication is just the amount of information that makes it through all the communicative filters, as you know. Okay, so that's something I really don't need to be concentrating too much on it. I want to go down to the tools. All right, so the tools that you could be using, just very, very briefly, I would very much happily refer anyone who's interested to the structure of reference. That's something that myself and Ivan Seministas, we work together, and that is the structure of reference between the various types of linguistic communicative proficiency, the various types of non-linguistic soft proficiency and skills that are communication based, and various types of digital competence. So what you need to know about digital tools in order to make the communication efficient, in order to assess the communication, in order to govern communication, and so on. So that is something that could be found in various publications by my team. So you can just look it up, or you can Google it up and you'll see it. My point is that I would really, okay, one other element that I don't want to dwell too much on, but I want to refer you to, that's something that you can, that's something I would very much love you to look up. And that is one of the outcomes of the Lexis project, and that's the so-called white paper on digital lexicography. Because that is oh my God, no, that's not what I want to show. Okay, the white paper on digital lexicography, that's something that gives you a comprehensive idea. You can look it up. We'll just Google it up and it's going to come up. It's a complete document. Those were the recommendations for the European Commission that, as a part of the project team, that I also helped devise, and that helped to identify what are the needs of the digital processes of the language nowadays, what are the needs of making the linguistic data uniform and accessible for research via digital tools, and what are the social demands on linguistic processing via digital tools nowadays. I'm giving you a rough view of what is to be found in that white paper, and you can look it up, and those are the official recommendations. If you want to follow them, and you can follow them if you ever devise any digital lexicography projects, let's say like the students or the PhD students, you can use that white paper as a comprehensive guideline, because those are the official recommendations that are now adopted by the European Commission. Okay, and I would very much love to refer you to the specific toolkit that we are using, the specific digital toolkit that we are using as researchers for processing of linguistic data. And that is the Lexis project toolkit, and they are 3 types: the corpus tools, the lexical data and lexicographic data processing tools, and the neural network tools. I'm going to show you how they work on a specific example. The point is that I myself, and whoever's working with me, whoever's been working with me so far, have been dealing with a very specific type of linguistic data, and that is the neology. That is the cutting edge of language development, specifically for the digital realm. That is something that has been happening to the language, the English language, and to European languages there, to Asian languages there. And that is the complete overhaul of what is considered to be a linguistic unit, what's considered to be a unit of sense, the graphic design and the visual design of what is a textual unit, what is a sentence, what is a lemma, what is a theme, or what is a sememe, which is everything is being overhauled. If you have been following the Oxford English Dictionary Word of the Year this year, you know that one of the runner-ups was a hashtag I stand with. That's the hashtag I stand with. It's not a word. It's been the runner-up for Word of the Year, but it's not a word by any stretch. Word by any stretch of imagination. It's something. it's a hybrid univerbal syntactic kind of thing. It's a science. It's most definitely a science because it has a form, it has a meaning, and it has a meaningful reference to, and it has discursive reference, so it has discursive extension, and it provides a wide range of discursive associations. Yeah, Professor Larissa Ivana, I can hear you.
So, yes, that's exactly it. It is assigned with a number of interpretations and usages.
Yeah, so,
yeah.
The point is, yes, it's definitely a science, but
meanings, of course. Yeah.
It's definitely a science, but the point is that that science is, in order for it to be accessible to a digital processing tool, it has to be explained to the digital processing tool, because it doesn't look like a word. You cannot just download that thing into a corpus and it's not going to identify it for you. It's going to break it into several points. So you have to explain that occurrence in the language. You have to explain it to a digital processing tool, and that's actually what we've been doing. what we're looking forward to keep doing with the digital processing toolkits. We are calibrating and we're developing the annotation protocols for science like this, which is like you see in the slide, for the science that they don't look like words, they don't sound like words, but they need to be approached by digital processing tools as words. So we are developing the annotation protocols that would be accessible to the machine, and the machine tools, they would at a certain point learn to identify them, and they would learn to identify signs of this type or of this kind whenever they occur in the language, the ones that we haven't computed into them. So I'm just giving you a very quick glance. So we've just, these are the examples. You can do different things with those tools, but I'm just giving you an example of what we've been doing, and you're going to see how it works. We've devised the annotation protocol for this type of science, and then we compute them into the linguistic processing tools. This particular one is the Lexonomy tool. It's open access. You can create dictionaries. You don't have to annotate lexicographic data. This way, you can create your own annotation protocol in this tool. It works like a charm. Here is the link. Well, this is the link to the particular project that we've been doing, the CyberSpeak project, but you can create your own project. Like I said, it's open access. It's accessible it's devised through the Alexis project, and you can create the configuration for your lemma, and you can describe the configuration that could be the object of your research. You can just use it as a thesaurus and use it for other purposes, or you can actually feed it into a corpus, and the thesaurus that you created in Lexonomy can help the corpus extract the information that you need about the textual data. What we've been doing, we've been working with this protocol. We've already integrated it into the vaster network of lexicographic data all across Europe through the Lexonomy project. What else we've been doing with it? This is really fun, and that's really something that you could be doing. Like I said, you don't have to do it with such a complicated protocol of annotation. You could do it with a regular dictionary. We've been using that data configured through the Lexonomy tool, and we've been feeding it to a neural network in a different tool. It's also open access. That's the charm about it. It's accessible. You know what I need to do? I need to make it smaller. Just a moment. I want to make the slide smaller so you can see the reference. No joy. No joy. Just a moment. Okay, you can see it, right? Lexifier. That's a different tool, and that is actually a user-friendly neural network. So you can actually create a dictionary or a thesaurus or a glossary, small glossary. You can create it in a Word document. You can upload it into the Alexifier, and then you can annotate it the way you want it to. The way we can ascribe relevant meanings to the portions, to the portions of the vocabulary entry. And that's how you train the neural network. And then the neural network could do it for you for the entries of the same type, or for the vocabulary units of the same type. And you can do it independently. It's just gonna learn on this specific data set. Or you can then feed it into a corpus. And that means that you've created a tool for yourself that is now custom made. It's gonna help you. It would now know what to look for in a corpus and to extract that data, specific data for you. But you have to train it first, and it takes a lot of time, but it's trainable. So it learns to pick up the pattern at a certain point. So, the corpus that you will have to be using that is Alexifier and Lexonomy compatible, that would be the sketch engine. The sketch engine. The sketch engine is a wonderful, no, that's a different corpus. You can use this one too. You have to annotate it on your own. That's slide tag. It's also a corpus tool. You can ascribe annotation to it yourself. And it's not a neural network, but it will do the task. It will extract data that you need. You can train annotation protocols with your students on it. You can develop annotation protocols that you need for research purposes. I'm not particularly fond of this tool, but it works. So it's also a corpus tool that allows you to devise your own protocol of annotation. But my favorite one is Sketch Engine. If you haven't worked with Sketch Engine yet, please do start working with it. It's wonderful, comprehensive, very hands-on, very visual corpus tool. It has lots of corpora already uploaded into it. It's not open access, unfortunately. So if you need to start working with that tool, or if you want to try to match what you've done with the Lexonomy and with the Alexifier to the Sketch Engine, please contact me. I'm going to give you my access code. Okay? Because as part of the project, we've been given access to Sketch Engine. And right now, Sketch Engine people, the developers, they are very supportive of Ukraine. And that's pretty much the first thing they did. They asked everyone if we need access to Sketch Engine, to open access. So my point is that you can actually make this corpus tool extract. You can use whatever extracted data that's already pre-installed in there, and you can get that data from it. But you can also customize it, and you can also make it extract the data that you need for relevant purposes. But you have to train. You have to devise either an annotation protocol in Lexonomy, or you have to train a neural network. It's not difficult. It's not difficult at all. It could be. It's a very fun exercise for students. It could be done for very small glossaries. It could be done for larger dictionaries, for huge dictionaries. For Alexifier, you actually, like I said, you can actually use a Word or a PDF document. So you don't really need a digital data set, a digital vocabulary, a digital dictionary. I'm just showing you what the Sketch Engine can do to your data, and then I'm going to show you what we've been doing with it. Okay, and one other point that is a problem. So our primary problem as a research team was not to extract lexical data from the corpus. It was to extract the data that is not lexical, these types of signs and the hashtags and the things. And that's why we needed to feed that data to the Lexonomy digital data set, and then we need to teach it to make catch extracted from it. Work so far with these types of signs, with the hashtags and with the numerical signs, partially with the emoji, partially, but the corpus tools, pretty much none of the corpus tools I've ever been working with is very good at processing visual data, and is not very good at processing emoji. You have to explain and to annotate emoji very specifically and very pointedly for a corpus tool to understand them. And even then, most of they just get glossed over. They just, that is not getting extracted. If your text or if your corpus consists of words, sentences, and emoji get lost whenever data is getting extracted. So you have to annotate emoji in words, you have to process them through words. That's something that one of my PhD students is completing her research about, and that is the annotation protocol for emoji. And we've been kind of butting heads with it, and we're trying to make it extractable. We've been trying to explain the emoji, and we've been doing associative experiments on how emoji are being understood by speakers of different languages so that we can explain it to the corpus so that they are reliably extractable as well as words are. So they have a consistent, sustainable number of meanings that could be extracted in any given context. That's something that we've also been doing. It's very time consuming, extremely fun, as you can understand. That's something that has been happening. Okay, and finally, I wanted to show you what we've been doing. When I say we, I mean myself and my research team. My guys, my PhD students, my PhDs, the ones that have been completed under my supervisions or doctorates, what we've been doing. What we've been doing through the war. And what we've been doing through the war were several tiers of digital linguistic projects. Because as it turned out, everything that we've been doing with this toolkits so far, they helped us and they were needed right now. They are needed, they are in demand, because it has been a war in words as much as it has been a war in the battlefield. And one of the projects that by far has been the major success, as I think, was a project under the auspices of the Ministry of Defense, and that is the semantic corpus. I'm going to show you what happened. This is a multi-language project, and that means that on demand and under the orders of Ministry of Defense, a set of speechwriters, and a set of translators, myself including, started working from February 25th. We've been creating news coverage and we've been creating content coverage on what's happening with the warfare in Ukraine. But in order to do so, we had to rely on corpus data. We had to first process the news coverage in various languages. I am giving you an example on text extraction for the term Ukraine and what is being said already in the news coverage. And by that, we identified the lacuna and what information is missing, what information is sufficient, what information is insufficient, what kind of content and what kind of information, what kind of text what kind of topics need to be covered in order to fill out that lacuna in the vaster internet corpus. When we're talking internet corpus, Catch Engine allows to, to process the entirety of, let's say, the bulk of everything that is open access in the English language on this topic or containing this word at a time. The same thing was done for other languages, and there were situations where we were told, okay, please stop with the English content creation for now, or with the English translations for now. We need to cover this specific topic. We need to put all the resources into covering this specific topic in Spanish right now, because that's where the coverage is lacking. Or let's say in Italian, certain focuses have been shifted in the media coverage. So we need to balance that out with more news coverage. So that is something that has been done specifically with the use of corpus processing tools. It's not a subject of research per se, because I haven't been able to bring myself to touch it to process it as a research object by now, but that is something that has been done specifically and applicably, and that is something that has been done on the information front and on the linguistic front of what we're doing through this warfare. That is one example. The other example is something that we've been doing with taxonomy, and this is more of a research and more of a and educational projects, and that directly has to do with the problem. That's a glossary of war. That directly has to do with the problem that I tackled before, that we need to process the science that are not exactly science. They could be hybrid, they could be multimodal, they could be not verbal, they could be a song or a saying or an interjection or whatever. But the point is that, like I said, one of my missions is to put Ukraine on the digital humanities map of Europe, and we've done so last year. I mean, 2021. We've completed the first ever in Ukraine, the first ever digital humanities workshop in Ukraine. But when it came down to publishing it, we've been already amidst the war. And together with our editorial team, we just decided that we probably need to give a spin on what digital humanities mean in the situation of a war. What it meant to be a digital nation, what it meant to be a digital communication in the situation of a war. And it turned out that the cultural ambient of our war, it has spawned lots of, well, you're familiar with them, it has spawned lots of memes, it has spawned lots of seminal visuals, it has spawned lots of hybrid data and lots of hybrid symbols that could not be exhausted by words. But they need to be accumulated, and they need to be accessible to machine processing. They need to be accessible to the corpus, so that whenever anyone wants to, they need to be preserved as part of the cultural and linguistic heritage of this war. They need to be preserved as part of the experience. So that's something that we started, the glossary of war. We started to put together those artifacts, those communicative and textual artifacts of our war. They are more recognizable as memes, but they could also be references, and they could also be specifications. And the challenge that is still there is to process the data that is not. So far we can only describe them linguistically, but the sketch and gene guys, they have, and the taxonomy guys, they have already added the media as a type of lemma into the makeup of the of taxonomy. It's not working well yet, but it's getting there, and it's getting there because that is something that I specifically asked them to do in order to accommodate the kind of linguistic information that is being spawned by the heritage of our war. And there is one other thing that we've been doing, because it's a different tool that I want to show you, and that's one I highly publicized, especially for students who are first ever dealing with the corpus processing for the first time. That's just something that we've been doing extensively. We've been diagnosing our students, and we've been diagnosing how well they're doing in digital communication and in digital education. But and for that, we accumulated a vast number of stimuli and responses from them. But the tool that we've been using to process it is very, very simple, and it's absolutely wonderful. Oh my God, go back. And it's called the Voyant tool, and it's open access. You can Google it, voyanttools.org, and you can just upload any text that you have. It doesn't have to be an annotated corpus. It doesn't have to be big. It could be big. It could be just, any kind of text that you have. And it's a one-stop shop. It's a one-click corpus process, and it gives you multitude and the most diverse and the most charming type of information, from the conceptual networks to a simple cirrus, to a simple word cloud. It gives you the trans distribution linearly across the corpus. Those are just 3 examples for a vast multitude. It could even give you the dynamic conceptual connections as it's animated, so you can see how the concepts relate and they kind of link to each other in a live stream through your text. It's wonderful, and it's very, very easy, and it's very fun to use. So that's a very good learning project for students or for PhD students. those of my PhD students who haven't been extensively trained or haven't been accustomed to use sketch engine or to use Viloxonomy, I refer them to Voyant's tools, and they're having so much fun with it. And immediately, especially if you're doing research and I don't know in textual concepts, immediately you have a very simple visualization. Everything that you ever need for your dissertation is on the same screen. You can just describe it all, and you have several chapters of your paper already visualized for you with the statistical data, with the contextual distributions, with everything. It's very vivid, very evocative, very concise, very simple to use, and I advertise it, highly advertise it. We used it to process, like I said, we use it to process the efficiency and the quality of digital education for students in Ukraine and for students across the world. Okay, so those are the majority of the tools that I wanted to share with you. I'm soon going to be kicked out of it. And it is my great pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you and to have the opportunity to share the experiences and to share and to inspire the necessity to make whatever you are doing with linguistic research, to make it go digital ASAP. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dear Rusudan. We are, wow, we are impressed, yes, and I'm sure that we enjoyed ourselves immensely, and rather, I'm particularly overwhelmed with all the information to digest, process, and then, of course, consult you. Dear students, any questions while we have the expert here? PhD students, yes, I do understand that, well, everything is amazing. And you make us feel proud that Ukraine is, well, thanks to your team in the first place, at such a level already joining the European digital community.
Oh, Walter, you should really probably gonna go, we'll publicize it. I shall share the link to the video recording of yesterday's seminar. What our colleagues from, what our colleagues with the corpus development tools, what they're doing with Ukrainian language, what they're doing with the computer science portion, with the computer science side of language processing. It's really amazing. We have a lot to be proud of. Indeed, we have a lot to be proud of as an academia, as a national academia.
Oh, yes, that's what I'm overwhelmed with, really. You make us feel proud. Dear students, did you have any questions? And guests, yes, please.
Hello, my name is Alexandra. Thank you so much for this very great, seminar. Yeah, I really like it. And I have maybe not a question, but could you write us your address, maybe email for giving an access to the sketch engine? Maybe you can give us the presentation, this presentation, because I saw it was 165 slides. It's huge. So if we could look through it, and analyze, because it's rather interesting how to make everything with corpus, for writing PhD thesis. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes,
okay, and actually, just like the case studies, I must say that so far, under my supervision, not only genealogy studies are being done corpus-based, just a recent study has been launched on the historical grammar. It's corpus-based, and it's also through the sketch engine. One of my favorites is the emoji paper. I really hope that we're going to be able to complete it. The PhD student and myself, we will be able to complete it by the end of this year. But the PhD student is Anna Bakhtina. She's an active volunteer, and she's working a lot with the front line. So that is also important. Paramount importance. The study that has been completely completed based on sketch and gene extraction, that is the study on multi-language study of the COVID discourse in the news coverage. The study that has been completed also based on sketch and gene and Viloxonomy, that's the study of multilingual study of the e-space conceptualization. That's also so pretty much. It doesn't necessarily have to be It doesn't necessarily have to be the innovative corpora. It could be historical corpora. The historical corpora of Old English, I think, has been recently uploaded into Sketch Engine. The corpus that is being developed by my colleague here in Vienna, the regional corpus of the Ukrainian language, has already moved to the Sketch Engine platform, so it's also part of the Sketch Engine dataset right now. And that is one of the most incredible accomplishments of the Ukrainian computational linguistics so far, I think. So the multitude of studies, we've been doing smaller projects based in Sketch Engine. We've been doing the parallel corpus, we've been doing translatory studies for students of Spanish and English language, because Sketch Engine can run not only the monolingual corpus, but they create a parallel corpus for you, and you can extract the data that you need. You can identify the accuracy of the translation. You can identify how well the unit of translation has been faring in through various languages. So you can do smaller projects with it. Like I said, it could be a project for freshman year. It could be a master's degree project, or it could be a PhD thesis. Of course, I'm always advertising not only to use the digital tools as a tool for the study, but to actually give something back to the tool in order to make it more, in order to make
to enrich the database.
Yeah, in order to enrich it, and in order to, you know, to feed the machine a little bit, because that is our partner in academic communication now. We have to play nice with the neural networks. We have to play nice with the actual tool, to make the tool the object of your study as well, not only the data that is processed, but it helps you process.
So many ideas, just a whole new realm is opening in front of us. Just we have to know how to grasp it and how to move further on.
Well, that is exactly the idea of this seminar. So I'm so glad. I'm so happy.
Thank you so much. Dear PhD students, dear undergraduate students, bachelors, please. I know that you have a lot to think about. Yeah. Do you happen, now there's a question, yes. Do you happen to do any software?
Can help to process and analyze video materials.
Thank you.
Yes, Larissa, I ask a question. I'm so sorry for my being delayed, thanks to our traffic. Yes, thank you very much. Maybe that was.
Thank you, Arthur Grantovich. Thank you so much.
Yes, dear colleague. Yes, I want to ask about the future trends in natural language processing. For example, this year or last year, we understand very much that one of the fascinating areas of this natural language processing, which we're talking about, has already produced many tools we use probably daily and even don't understand it, including chatbots, maybe voice.
Artificial intelligence, that's the only avenue of development.
And many more. Yeah, so what about these future trends in natural language?
Artificial intelligence, that's it. The functional artificial intelligence.
Right.
Because there is no artificial intelligence without functional natural language processing, and it has to be not limited. It has to be it has to have the functionality of a human brain, and it has to have the access to unlimited, uniform language resources, and that's why we need to assemble linguistic data sets, as many of linguistic data sets as possible. Elon Musk has recently announced that he's gonna launch the text crawler programs that are gonna assess fictional texts that are available open access online in order to teach artificial intelligence to actually write literature, viable literature. So yeah, artificial intelligence, everything that natural language processing, that's my private personal belief, that everything that that natural language processing works towards is the functional artificial intelligence, not a limited one, but the functional one. As to the processing of video materials, there are programs and there are corpus tools, including the Sketch Engine, that can process audio materials. but the match between the video and audio materials has been a bit of a challenge so far.
Okay.
How about the analysis of graphical images? Also, you know, that our media is full of infographics. Is that an assistant?
It's a problem because the corpus tool can only process the textual description of the infographics. So the idea is, yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm being summoned to leave. The idea is to describe the data sets of visual materials as comprehensively as possible, so that the neural network will, like our visual brains, they're going to process it through the description.
Thank you. So we have to wrap up, right?
I have to run. I'm being kicked out of the classroom.
I think you got the awareness that being linguist, you have lots of things to do, and it's a never-ending story. The world is developing, but we have to develop as well. I mean, we have to update our soft skills to be able to use these tools. And well, thank you so much, dear.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. It has been my
you're
pleasure.
opening a whole new world to us. Well, if you do not mind, with your kind permission, we will upload this video to our YouTube channel, and I will.
Not a problem. It's my pleasure. I would very much appreciate the link because that's the dissemination of project results. Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. It's always a great pleasure. And with your permission, I will be in contact because we are launching a project, and I very much would like to invite you to join.
Of course, our pleasure and honor. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
so much. I really need to run because I am a little bit in the way of my colleagues. They have the rep of the
We do appreciate your time and efforts.
Yeah. Okay. Bye. Stay safe. That's important.
Right. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thanks
to everybody for joining our seminar. Yes, you can watch, digest this information, you know, rethink what was said while watching this video again.
Okay. Bye.
Yes. Yeah. Goodbye, everybody, and have a safe day, and all the best to you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye bye.